Cuccinata, and this semester I worked on a book proposal for a project called Noble Grapes, the Geocultural Journey of 6 Wines. I first got into wine when I first moved to New York City because I got my first job here in a wine bar because I thought it would be cool. And it was not only because I was in a wine cellar for about 80% of the time, but because that led me to an opportunity with Food and Wine magazine, where I was really able to dive into the world of wine writing firsthand. While I was there, I had a conversation with 3 Chilean winemakers who would forever change the way I think about wine. They told me in an interview that they started growing Pinot Noir, specifically in a desert in northern Chile, because they knew their Chinese buyers would be interested in purchasing wine made from grapes they perceived to be simply French, even though they were grown in Chile. This led me to the question, why are specific grapes grown in specific places? I'd always assumed that weather and geography were the primary factors, but my conversation with these winemakers illustrated that economic, cultural, historical, and social forces influence these decisions as much as geography. Humans are, after all, as important a terroir as wind, rain, and soil. There are 6 noble grapes, and they're categorized as such not only for their prevalence throughout the world and historical importance, but because of their consistent taste profiles and the character of the wine they produce. A book specifically about the noble grapes does not exist on the market, even though there are literally hundreds of books about wine, from monolithic encyclopedias to sweeping histories of the viniculture of a particular grape, region, or country, to snappy drinking guides written for a popular audience and more casual consumers, to lyrical love letters about a particular winemaker or single variety. Noble Grapes, the Geocultural Journey of 6 Wines, does not fall into any of these categories. I want to discover how wine traveled across the globe and through culture. Essentially, I'm taking the Cotton Eye Joe approach to wine. Where did it come from? Say it with me. Where did it go? The sample chapter included in this book proposal is on Pinot Noir. The noble grapes are known for maintaining their primary characteristics regardless of terroir, but Pinot is notoriously difficult to nail down. Pinot from different regions tastes drastically different, and winemakers liken it to a chameleon. It's the subject of Paul Giamatti's famous monologue in the 2004 film Sideways, where he says, "Pinot's not a survivor. It requires constant care and attention. It can only grow in these really specific little tucked away corners of the world." My task was to determine if that's really true. Pinot Noir was born in Burgundy, France, when a wild vine mutated into the grape we know today. Pinot Noir is the genetic parent of Chardonnay, Gamay, Syrah, Aligote, and at least 13 other grape varieties. We don't know when this mutation occurred or when the vines were first domesticated, but the first documented case of Pinot Noir grapes occurred in 1394. The year after, Philip, the ruler of Burgundy, declared that all other grapes in Burgundy should be torn up and replanted with Pinot Noir, establishing Pinot's dominance in this region. However, Pinot Noir spread to other regions long before this domination occurred. Now, I'll go over 3 of the regions where Pinot Noir is grown today. Pinot Noir hit Austria in the year 1100 when Cistercian monks brought it over. And even today, you can see there is a clear overlap between the location of Cistercian monasteries and the region where Pinot Noir is grown today in Western Austria. It took much, much longer for Pinot Noir to reach California in 1855, but the thing that's fascinating about its life there is that it wasn't documented at first as being something that was being grown. It was a vine that was being sold in a seed catalog, so people could send money in and receive a vine of their own to grow Pinot Noir in their very own homes. Pinot Noir hit New Zealand in 1878 for the first time. It was planted, successfully grown, thought to be an incredible wine, and then due to political unrest, the one vineyard where Pinot Noir was grown was actually burned to the ground, and the vines had to be brought over a second time later in the 1880s, where it then took root. Pinot Noir hit Kenya in 1996. 2001 was a particularly good vintage. It reached Chile in 2005 with the winemakers I had the opportunity to speak to, and it hit China actually in 2012. Unfortunately, the Kenyan and Chinese Pinot Noirs haven't hit the US market, but here are some of my recommendations for affordable Pinots I've tasted and enjoyed, and I'll now read a short excerpt from my sample chapter. Andrei Teteslov, the grandfather of American wine and the single most influential individual in Californian winemaking, famously proclaimed, "God made Cabernet Sauvignon, whereas the devil made Pinot Noir. This may be true. Pinot Noir is the oldest known grape still grown throughout the world today and was one of the first food products to be genetically mapped. Pinot Noir is finicky, thin-skinned, tightly clustered, late ripening, prone to mutating right on the vine. It's been described as the vintner's headache, a poor traveler, grotesque, ghastly, the heartbreak grape. And yet, it's sex in a glass. It's a white wine masquerading as a red, the ethereal drink of poets and scholars. Tasting notes include everything from bright red berries to leather and smoke. It's velvety, earthy, musty, fresh, pungent, full, fleshy, concentrated, discreet, subtle, balanced, and above all, elegant. The devil may have made Pinot Noir in the hills of Burgundy, but humans grew, bottled, drank, antagonized over, and most importantly, traveled with it. Thank you.